Run, Matt, run! Oh, no.
So when we have that type of symptom, when we're shaking, a lot of the times shaking can be associated with muscular fatigue, especially if you notice it after extended periods of play. So I do want to ask when you typically feel this. When you're tracking is also when you're using your wrist muscles a lot. So I would assume that it is associated with some overuse or when your muscles are fatiguing a bit, which means again the theme of what we tend to say very commonly to most people, it's really important for us to build up strength and our endurance of the muscles that we repeatedly use. In this case, when you flick to the right, you are using the muscles in your on the pinky side of your forearm, known as your extensor carpi ulnaris, your flexor carpi ulnaris. You're flicking this way, moving this way, and some of the muscles of your extensor digitorum. Maybe a few. But it's very important for
Nerd!
us very important for us to strengthen those. And the exercises that you can do are based on creative inventories when you can't there it is. So I would look at the 7-minute exercise video, or not 7 minutes, the 7 science-based wrist exercises. That's a good place to start. Also our 9-minute wrist warrior routine, another great place to start. And then you know how it feels. After extended periods of time too, I would look to do some stretches, just to allow the muscles to relax. Even one other thing you might need to look at is how are you holding the mouse when you are in the neutral position, or when you first pick up your mouse. Is your wrist bending over to that right side? So I'm showing you at the camera right now. Sometimes when we pick it up and we start like this, which shortens the muscle here. Okay, so you need to pick up the mouse and start like this. Start with the center of your wrist aligned with the center of your knuckle here. And that allows you to more optimally utilize your wrist muscles and not fatigue that wrist side, pinky side more easily. D. Ali, hi. You've been feeling pain in your wrist recently, and you've been on a keyboard and mouse for 2 months. Never felt pain when using a controller. That is a very normal phenomenon. It's because it depends on quite a few things, but a lot of the time it's because you're not used to using similar muscles that you were using on the controller. And hold on, oh! I'll add the triple edit here. Make that consistent. Yeah, so one, we got to look at your ergonomics. How are you holding the mouse? How are you using the keyboard? Is it both a keyboard and mouse hand, or is it just one hand? You know, whichever hand it is, we want to be able to see how you're holding the peripheral and how that might be contributing to it. And then Abdi Ali, the other component is always, exercise. You got to build up your endurance. You also got to see how long you've been playing. But normally there's a pretty standard adaptation time of swapping from controller to mouse and keyboard. I'm ready. 1 HP medic.
Ready too. I'm ready.
It is your left hand more than your right, and your left hand is the one that you use your keyboard. Of course, it is that. That makes sense. So I would look at how you're using your keyboard. Is your wrist supported? Is there too much extension? Are you elevating it like this? Ooh, look at us. We're matching. That's going to be one thing I look at. One thing I want to also look at it from the top is your wrist tilted in any sort of direction. Where's the actual pain? That's going to be a big thing as well. Spacious, yeah. Oh, you switched to a mixer. Hardware works better for you. I see. That's cool. How much of a difference does drinking protein shakes and getting big have towards how long you can play? That's a really good question. Size doesn't necessarily always correlate to muscular endurance. It might not even always correlate to muscular strength. So getting big and hypertrophy is not the same as having your physical skill of strength or endurance improve. It's all about how you train. You can train, be really big, and still develop overuse injuries.
There's bodybuilders all the time that tear their tendons, like biceps tendons, because they're not ready to lift the heavy loads that they look like they should be able to because their muscle mass is so big.
Yay! We sweated it! How can I practice not to tense it if I play too flashy and you want to slow it down? Well, why do you want to slow it down? I mean, is it hurting you? Do you have pain? I mean, you don't have to slow it down, but if you do, it's just being intentional about how you're actually playing. It's training your motor coordination or how you move over time. Even you want to know how to practice not tensing your hand. Yeah, it's all about giving yourself practice on how to not tense. So like, let's say I'm practicing right now. You guys can see my camera, right? Like mouse cam, right? If I'm tensing my hand, like flicking, you have to play a full game. It's like an exercise for yourself. Okay, I'm gonna do 50% tension, holding here, and then I'm gonna play the whole game 50% tension. And that is training for you to practice, because then your default control over time will move towards 50% tension over maintaining 100 the whole time, right? So it's just about including that. Every day I'm gonna do 3 times 5 minutes or 3 times 2 arena games with partial tension, and then you can gradually improve it. If I use my wrist aim even a little, my shoulder stiffens. Do you have any idea why that happens? So a lot of the times we develop patterns of movement, meaning that whether it be due to work, whether it be due to you played for a certain way for a long time at a certain sensitivity, you develop this pattern of movement where you are using your wrist and your shoulder at the same time. So you might be utilizing some rotator cuff muscles while you're using your wrist muscle when you're wrist aiming. That's causing your shoulder to stiffen up. Okay, if I use my I answered that. Is it normal that sometimes when I take a deep breath, my back kind of cracks? That means there's some stiffness in your back. Usually when we have gas being released from our joints, the cracking sensation that you guys feel in your mid back, it's because we've sustained a position for a long period of time, and then you move towards the end range, and then some gas gets released from the movement of the joint, and that causes the pop, and then it feels a little better. You get a little more movement. If you are already taking a deep breath, that's already pushing. That might push your lower back into a little more of extension or flexion range of motion, and that will cause that. But if you're already only feeling it when you're breathing deeply, it means that, hey, you might be in this too rounded of a position, and you need to probably work on your posture.
Really
in between,
weird.
I forget what 50 feels like, so I go back. Yeah, so that's normal. It's me, Fortnite. It's normal for you to feel like that. But that's why it just takes time for you to develop that sense and feel over time.